Hi, I'm Christine from Tebbitt Textiles. Here we are again. Welcome back to part 2 of water soluble work. I'd like to show you some of the work that I've done. It's not as 3D as the first video that we went through, but it's still a layered effect. This first piece I'd like to show you is based on a trip that my husband and I took. We started off at Los Angeles and we ended up at San Francisco, and I tried to pick out all the lovely spots, the iconic items from all the different places that we stopped at. We started with Venice Beach, with the surfboards and the lifeguard hut and their rescue truck there. We went along to Santa Monica, then we went up to Las Vegas, all the lovely hotels that they have, super buildings up there, and everything's really quite special. Hard Rock Cafe, the Paris Balloon, the Pink Flamingos. We went to the Grand Canyon helicopter, and then from Las Vegas we came back down to Santa Barbara and then along the coastline and ended up in San Francisco, where I've done the Painted Ladies, we've got the Golden Gate Bridge, got trams going up, Chinatown, all sorts of things. So that was the first picture that I'd done such a large piece, and it took a long time, as you can well imagine. And what I do is I draw out the items that I want from photographs and pictures and transfer it onto water soluble, and then do like a thread painting. This is something else that I've created. The family went to Granada one year, and this is the view that I had from the Alhambra. And it was all the lovely Spanish houses, the lovely trees, the olive grove down the bottom. And again, that is all layered. All the houses and the trees are all individually done. And I will show you later on in the video how to do that. And I've sewn them on together. They are on a piece of watercolor paper. I've painted it and then sewn directly with invisible thread all the little houses and trees on. This is another of the things that I've done in the same sort of method, and this is my floral picture, and a bit like the ones that you can see behind it that I showed you in the last video, but they're flat. They're not standing out. They're a lot softer. They're a lot softer, and they're still layered, and some of them are a bit loose. And again, I sew them on to a piece of fabric at the back, and I make sure that all the edges are done. I've got them all free, but they're all still anchored on. So that's another way. I'll show you some other things. This is a Christmas one that I did with a choir boy singing away there, with lots of presents, a Christmas pudding. I just wanted to get a general Christmassy theme going. Again, butterflies. I've done lots and lots of butterflies, and it's a really lovely way to keep them separate. So it's as if they're still alive, but I assure you they're all thread work. These are some of the cards that I do as well. And again, they are water soluble. And the houses are all been sewn separately, with the trees separately. And as you can see, they're quite different from your usual. So this is how I go about creating those pictures. This is my solufleece exactly the same as what I used in the other technique. It's a nice strong one. You can draw on it. But the difference is that I put a bit of what I call bridle net behind it, and it will give it stability. And you'll see why I do that later on. Now, what I will do is create the picture that I want to sew, and then I will take elements of it and I will trace it onto my solu fleece. Normally I will fill that with all different bits, the trees, the church, more houses. But for the purposes of showing you how, we're going to just do the one house. I'm going to put the bridle net on the back. It then goes in the hoop, nice and firmly. Make sure you pull it nice and taut. And then I'm going to take you over to the machine in a moment. But here's one that I did earlier. These are how it's going to look. They're little thread paintings of all the individual houses and the trees. And you can see how densely that they're sewn. And then I will do the same thing as I did before with the shears. I will solder the pieces out so that I've got individual pieces. I don't know whether you can see this picture. It is behind glass. But each piece has been sewn out, soldered out separately, and then I've sewn them all onto a piece of pelmet violin with lots of silk fabrics at the back. And that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to take it over to the machine. So here I am at the machine with my feed dogs down, my darning foot on. I've got black thread in the bobbin and on top, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw it first with my needle. So pull your bottom thread through so that you don't get a bird's nest. Hold on to it, put your needle down, and here we go. I'm going to snip off these ends. I take it over and draw the windows. Just go across. Right, that's me done with the black. It's just a rough outline for you to stitch and colour it in. So I'm going to remove my black and take away all the jump stitches. And then I will change my thread, and I will put, what I'm going to do first is that I'll put grey on top and in the bobbin. Okay, so I've got my grey in top and bottom, and I'm just going to fill it in up and down, sideways. Before I go any further, I should cut my threads because they're going to get in the way. And then I'm going to move across to the first window, or the second window here. Up and down and around. Get it all filled in. Try not to be too heavy with your stitching. I've got a 40 weight rayon. I use a 30 weight as well. And I find that they work really well. I'm going to have the chimney grey. Right, so that's me finished with the grey, and I will change my thread over to the roof colour, and this is me filling in the roof using the black thread as my guidelines. I like to keep in the same direction so that it doesn't look too messy. Obviously around the edges you've got to be careful. Go backwards and forwards. This is a variegated cotton that I'm using now, which is rather nice for roofs on my Spanish houses. Changes colour quite nicely, and it's not shiny like the rayon, it's a flat cotton, and it's a 30 weight bitumen thread that I'm using here, and it's a variegation of reds and greens and browns, which is rather lovely. I just going over, make sure I've got all the bits that I want to, and that's my roof done. And now I'll change threads again and come back to you when I've got the cream in for the walls of the house. Right, this is the cream coloured walls, and again I'm gonna go directional. And that's my little house more or less done. And the next thing, as I say, what I need to do is normally fill in the whole of the water soluble with houses, trees, whatever it is that you want in the picture. If you feel that you've gone over the black and you want to show the black, I must admit I do cheat a little bit, and I'll put a little bit of black pen over the threads that I've inadvertently gone over. So, but it doesn't really matter because it's a sketchy look. So next I'm going to show you how I burn the pieces out and how they look, and then I'll explain to you that I don't immerse them in water like I do the other ones, and I'll show you why in a moment. So here we are now. We're going to burn the pieces out. So I'm going to start actually in the middle with the little church. So that's all the pieces on this picture. I shall leave that single one because I'll add more houses to that. So lift it up and you've got all your little pieces there. Now I don't, these pieces are lovely and soft. You've covered it top and bottom with thread, and I don't need to do anything with them other than trim them up where sometimes my thread's not been cut either by me or the soldering iron. Sometimes that does happen. So trim up all your little houses and your trees, any bits of the water soluble that you've not burnt away. And they're still lovely and soft, so I won't need to do anything else with them other than create the picture. And what I will do is that, guided by the picture that I have in here, so this is the original picture that I took it from. I think it was this one here. So there I have it there, and you just start placing things where you want them. Remember, things get tucked under one another. So that's the little house up there. But if you remember rightly, we've got all sorts of bushes and things. I've got the bushes that go round the back. So, and I will just, a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. And I've got the trees at the back. Put them in. You get the rough idea. There's the bushes in the front. The more bushes. So I will either get some fabrics, some silk paper, painted violin, sew them onto it, or I'll just use watercolour paper, paint it up and sew it onto the paper itself, like I've done the Spanish houses over there. You can either glue them, you can sew them on, but they're kept soft. You don't wash away the glue, the water soluble. It leaves it, this technique leaves the whole procedure very, very soft. And all the little flowers that I do, they're all very soft and manageable. Whereas the previous technique, they're really still quite crunchy where the glue is still in them. And this way, you've not activated the glue. It's just used as a bit of a stabilizer. And you've burnt it away. You've burnt the bridalness away. And the whole thing keeps the whole thing together. Like, I didn't have to worry about doing the windows and having to crisscross across from the grey to the cream to the roofing, because I've got the net underneath that keeps the whole thing together. If you do water soluble work, you normally have to create a grid behind your work if you're not using any sort of stabilizer. This way, I get away with not having to put a grid all over it. I've got the net as the grid, and because I don't want to wash it away, I burn it away, I get away with it. So I hope you've enjoyed this latest technique. There's so many different ways of using water soluble. I've really just shown you 2 ways that I use it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Look forward to seeing you again on another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.